I never thought I'd be the guy writing this kind of story, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I'm 32. I was with my wife, Emily, for about 5 years before I found out she was cheating on me. Yeah, I know, it sounds cliché. She's supposed to be my wife, my partner, the person I trust. But honestly, the signs were there for a while, and I was too blind or maybe just too in love to see them clearly. We had a pretty good relationship, or so I thought. She was beautiful, smart, and confident, at least that's what she wanted everyone else to believe. But behind closed doors, things weren't so perfect. It all started subtly. Little things that didn't add up. She'd be secretive about her phone, always hiding her screen when I walked into the room. She'd get defensive when I asked who she was texting. I'd catch her slipping in little lies about where she was going, who she was with. I told myself I was overreacting, that maybe I was just paranoid. But that gut feeling, the one you ignore until it's screaming in your ear, kept nagging at me. Then came the fights. She'd get bitchy, snapping at me over tiny things, raising her voice, acting like I was the problem. When I tried to talk to her about my concerns, she'd brush me off, tell me I was overthinking or being insecure. She'd say, "You're just jealous," or "You don't trust me," whenever I brought up my suspicions. But I knew something was wrong. Something I couldn't put my finger on exactly, but it felt like a weight pressing down on me every time I looked at her. The night before our wedding. That's when everything changed. I was supposed to be excited, nervous, all the emotions you'd expect. Instead, I was just restless. I kept feeling like I was missing something, like I had a gut feeling I didn't want to face. I stayed up late that night scrolling through her phone just to see if I could catch a break. I wasn't expecting much, honestly. I'm not the jealous type, but I guess I just wanted to know if my instincts were wrong. That's when I saw the messages, the texts, the photos. They weren't just innocent chats, they were explicit. Flirty talk, suggestive images, promises of meeting. And the worst part, the guy she was texting, my best man Jake. The guy I trusted more than anyone else. The guy I'd stood next to when she said her vows. I didn't want to believe it at first. Maybe it was some kind of sick joke, some misunderstanding. But the texts didn't lie. They were there, plain as day, right on her phone. She'd been with Jake the night before our wedding and she was planning to meet him again. I stared at the screen for what felt like forever, my heart pounding so loud I thought it would burst. All the happiness I'd felt, all the hope I had for our future, gone in an instant. I was numb. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and furious. How could she do this? How could the woman I loved, the woman I was about to marry, cheat on me with my best man? The thought of them together, the sex, the lies, it all exploded inside me. I didn't know whether to cry, scream, or just walk away. Instead, I sat there, holding her phone, realizing that everything I believed about us might have been a lie. The morning after I found out, I didn't sleep. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, replaying the images in my head. I kept thinking about how she lied, how she betrayed me right before what should have been the happiest day of my life. I couldn't understand how she could be so callous, so reckless. My mind was racing, trying to figure out what to do next. Should I confront her immediately? Should I just leave and never look back? The anger was boiling inside, but there was also this deep, aching hurt that I couldn't shake. Finally, I decided I couldn't wait any longer. I needed answers. I got up, grabbed her phone again, and waited until she was in the shower. I had no plan, no idea what I was going to say, but I knew I couldn't keep this bottled up. I needed to see her face, hear her lies, and decide what I was going to do with this bombshell. When she came out, still half-dressed, I told her I needed to talk. Her face instantly changed. That smug, bitchy smile she always had when she thought she could get away with something. It faded into a look of panic. I showed her phone. I told her I knew everything about the texts, about her plans, about Jake. Her eyes widened, and for a second she looked genuinely caught off guard. But then she pulled that same bullshit face, the one she used whenever she was lying her ass off. She started with, "Mike, I don't know what you're talking about, and you're blowing things out of proportion," as if it was just some misunderstanding. Yeah, right. I wasn't born yesterday. I told her I saw the messages, and I knew she'd been lying to my face this whole time. Her response: "It was just sex, Mike. Nothing serious. It didn't mean anything. I swear I love you. It's just a mistake." That's when I lost it. How could she be so fucking callous? How could she sit there and lie so easily as if what she did was nothing? I told her I didn't want to hear her lies anymore. I wanted the truth from her, straight up. Did she really sleep with Jake? Did she even love me? Her response was cold. She said, "You think I'm perfect, please, you're boring, you don't know how to have fun." Jake and I, we just clicked. It meant nothing, just sex, Mike, that's all it was. She kept repeating that same phrase like it was a mantra, trying to diminish what she did, like I should just accept that it was no big deal. I felt my stomach turn. I was furious more than I'd ever been in my life. How could she be so callous, so indifferent? I just looked at her, waiting for her to break down, to admit what she did. But she kept lying, pushing her bullshit narrative like she was the victim here. I could see the contempt in her eyes, the way she looked at me like I was the one causing the problem. Honestly, it was like talking to someone who didn't even care that she just destroyed everything we had. And I realized right then, this wasn't just about the affair. It was about her complete lack of respect, her total disregard for what I thought was our relationship. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about all the moments we shared, all the plans we made. I felt like I was living in some awful nightmare that I couldn't wake up from. I was angry, yeah, but mostly I was devastated. I'd trusted her. I'd been sure we were building something real. Now I wasn't even sure I knew who she was anymore. Was she ever honest with me? Did she love me at all? Every thought just made the pain worse. I kept asking myself if I should just cut her loose, if I deserved better than this, if I could ever forgive her, or if I should just walk away and start over. But part of me wanted revenge. Not just to punish her, but to feel like I had some control, some power after being so thoroughly betrayed. I thought about her lies, the way she'd pretend to be innocent when she was really just a bitch who used sex to get what she wanted. I kept telling myself I wouldn't let her do this to me, not without a fight. And that's when I started planning. I wasn't sure what form it would take yet, but I knew I had to do something to make her regret what she did. I couldn't just let her get away with it. Over the next few days, my mind was a whirlwind of anger and confusion. I couldn't believe she had been lying to me all this time, especially about something so big, her affair with my best man, Jake. Every time I saw her, I felt a mix of rage and disappointment. I kept replaying those texts, those photos, trying to understand how everything could unravel so fast. I realized that confronting her again wouldn't change anything unless I had a plan, something that would make her feel what she'd done, something that would hit her where it hurt. I started gathering information just in case I needed it. I checked her social media, her emails, even her friends' messages. I wanted to see if there was anything else she was hiding, any more lies. But honestly, the main thing I kept focusing on was Jake. How had he not known she was with me? How could he do this to his best friend? I kept telling myself I'd never forgive him either, but I also knew I needed to think bigger. I couldn't just confront her and Jake and call it a day. I needed a plan, something calculated, something that would make her regret she ever crossed me. Then came the moment I knew I had to act. I remembered that she kept her phone in her purse or on her nightstand, always secretive. So I waited until she went to work one morning and I snuck into her purse. I was careful, trying not to make a sound. I knew it was a gamble, but I had to see if she'd left any evidence behind, something I could use. It was risky, but I didn't care. When I opened her purse, I found her phone exactly where I expected. I started scrolling through her messages, her photos, her call logs. It was all there, more proof of her lies and the affair. I found a few more texts between her and Jake, some that confirmed they'd been planning to meet up again that very weekend. There were even messages where she called him her secret escape, and he responded with teasing emojis and promises to see her soon. I felt my blood boil. The devastation hit me hard. I'd been so naive, so trusting. All those nights I stayed up worrying, all those fights we had about her secretive behavior, it all led to this. My wife, the woman I was supposed to marry, was sneaking around with my best man. That night I sat in the dark, staring at her phone, trying to decide what to do. I could confront her right then, rip her apart with the truth. Or I could wait, gather even more evidence, and then strike harder. I knew I wanted to hit her in a way she wouldn't forget, that she'd feel the full weight of her betrayal. I realized I was already planning my revenge, and it was going to be cold, calculated, and definitive. I wasn't just angry anymore, I was determined to make her pay. I had to make her see that I wasn't a doormat, that her lies had consequences. In that moment I made a decision. I'd keep everything hidden for now, act as if I didn't know, and then hit her with everything all at once. Because if she thought I was naive, if she thought she could lie and get away with it, she was dead wrong. I was done being the fool, and I was going to make sure she knew it. This wasn't just about ending the relationship. It was about making her realize she'd lost everything, and I was the one who was going to enforce that. The next few days were a roller coaster. I kept acting normal around her, though inside I was anything but. Every time she looked at me with that bitchy smirk or tried to brush off my questions, I felt the urge to explode. But I knew I had to stay calm, stay in control. I had everything I needed now: more texts, some sex she'd sent Jake, even plans for their next meetup. The worst part was realizing how much she'd lied, how she'd manipulated me into thinking everything was fine when she was out there screwing my best man. One night, I decided I was ready. I'd collected enough evidence to tear her apart and make her regret everything. I wanted her to feel what I was feeling: betrayed, humiliated, and furious. I set the scene. I told her I had something to tell her, that I'd found her phone and seen everything. Her face crumpled for a second, then she recovered with that bitchy attitude, trying to act innocent or dismissive. I didn't let her get away with it. I laid out all the evidence I had gathered. I told her about the texts, the sex, the plans. I told her I knew about her affair with Jake, how she'd been sneaking around with him behind my back during our entire relationship. I watched her reaction carefully. Her eyes widened, then narrowed, trying to hide her guilt. She kept denying everything, saying it's not what you think or you're overreacting, but I cut her off. I told her I wasn't interested in her excuses anymore. I wanted her to face the truth, her reaction. She started crying, fake tears, of course. She said I was just jealous, that I was insecure, and that Jake was just a friend, that she loved me, that it was just sex, nothing more. She looked at me with that condescending smirk, like I was the fool for not understanding, but I wasn't buying it. I knew her game now. I told her that I was done with her lies, that I was finished being played. I told her I wanted her gone and that I didn't want her coming back. I wanted her out of my house, out of my life. She kept crying, begging for forgiveness, saying she made a mistake, that she didn't mean to hurt me, but I didn't feel sorry for her, not anymore. I felt rage. I wanted her to feel the pain she'd caused me, to understand that she'd destroyed everything we had built. I told her her lies and betrayal had broken my trust beyond repair. I said I was done being a fool, that I was going to end this relationship for good. And that's when I told her I'd be telling everyone, our friends, her family, everyone, what she'd done. I wanted her to feel the shame, the humiliation. She looked at me with desperation in her eyes, trying to twist my words, saying I was overreacting, that she loved me, that it was just sex. But I knew better now. She was a lying, manipulative bitch who had no regard for me or for our relationship. I told her that from now on, she'd regret ever messing with me, and I meant every word. I was done holding back. I wanted her to feel the full weight of what she'd done. I wanted her to understand that her actions had consequences, and I was the one who would make sure she paid. After I confronted her that night, everything changed. The atmosphere in the house was thick with tension. She kept begging, claiming she was sorry, saying she'd do anything to fix it, but I wasn't buying her tears anymore. I told her I needed space, that I couldn't even look at her without feeling sick. I decided I wasn't going to let her manipulate her way out of this. No more lies, no more excuses. I needed some time to think, to figure out what my next move was. The days that followed were the hardest of my life. I felt a constant mix of anger, sadness, and confusion. Part of me wanted to forgive her, to try and move past this, but another part, my pride, my dignity, knew I couldn't. Every time I saw her, I remembered the texts, the lies, the betrayal. I kept asking myself if I was a fool for ever trusting her. How could someone who claimed to love me do this? Did she ever love me? Or was I just another placeholder in her game? These questions haunted me. I started talking to a few friends, trying to get some perspective. Most of them told me to cut her loose, that she'd shown her true colors, but I also felt guilty. I still loved her, even after everything. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. I replayed all our good moments, all the times I thought she was the one for me. Now I wondered if it was all just a big lie spun by a woman who was too bitchy, too manipulative to be honest with herself. One night, I finally decided I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. I sat her down and told her I was done. Done with her lies, her manipulations, her cheating. I told her I was leaving, that I wouldn't let her ruin me. She looked surprised, maybe even scared, but she quickly turned it around. She started crying again, saying I was overreacting, that she loved me and would fix things if I just gave her a chance. That's when I realized she wasn't going to change. She was the same selfish, bitchy woman I'd always known, just with a different story to tell. At that moment, I knew I had to do what was best for me. I couldn't stay in a relationship built on lies and betrayal. I told her I wanted her gone, that I'd file for divorce if I had to. I wanted her to feel the loss of what she'd thrown away. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me into staying. I wanted her to realize that her actions had consequences and that I was done being her doormat. I felt a strange mixture of relief and heartbreak. Relief because I finally took control, heartbreak because I'd lost someone I thought was my future. But I knew deep down, this was the only way I could truly move on. Now I'm just trying to pick up the pieces. I still can't believe how everything turned out. I trusted her with my life and she threw it all away for a quick fuck. If there's one thing I've learned from this, it's that people aren't always who they seem, and sometimes you just have to walk away before they destroy you. Love isn't enough when the foundation was built on lies. I wish I could say I'm completely okay, but honestly I'm still hurting, still trying to figure out what's next. But one thing for sure, I won't let her or anyone else do this to me again. Honestly, I'm still trying to process everything. It's been a rough ride and I don't think I'll ever fully get over the betrayal. But what I do know is that I've learned a lot about trust, about myself, and about how good people can sometimes be so damn bad. I used to believe in fairy tales, thought that if you loved someone enough, everything would be okay. Turns out, love isn't enough if the person you trust is just using you for their own selfish needs. Since everything blew up, I've been trying to rebuild my life. I've cut her out completely, stopped talking to her, and I've started focusing on myself. It's not easy, especially when the pain runs so deep. I keep reminding myself that I deserve better, that I don't need to be with someone who lies and cheats and treats me like I'm nothing. I've realized that some women, no matter how bitchy or manipulative, will always put themselves first, sometimes at the expense of the people who love them. Looking back, I wish I'd seen the signs earlier. But I also understand now that people aren't always who they pretend to be. You can't change them or fix them if they don't want to be fixed. The only thing you can do is walk away and learn from it. That's what I'm doing, learning to trust my instincts, trusting that I deserve honesty, loyalty, and respect. And I'll never let myself fall into that trap again. To anyone reading this who might be going through something similar, my advice is simple: trust yourself. Don't ignore the signs and never let anyone make you feel like you're overreacting. If you have doubts, check, investigate, find out the truth. Because when the betrayal comes, it hits harder than you ever thought possible. But remember, you're stronger than you think. You'll survive. You'll heal. And someday, you'll look back and realize that even the worst betrayals can teach you how to value yourself more.